On December 14, 2017, the Federal Communications Commission, or FCC, voted to repeal net neutrality in the United States. This decision delighted some, scared others, but for most people, like me, we just wanted to know what the heck net neutrality was and why it was being argued over in the first place. So what actually is net neutrality? To answer this, we can look to Tim Wu, an American lawyer, professor at Columbia Law School, and contributing opinion writer for the New York Times. More importantly for our purposes, he is the person who coined the term network neutrality, which he defines as the principle that a maximally useful public information network aspires to treat all content, sites, and platforms equally. Basically, it's the principle that service providers should not be able to speed up preferred content, slow down unpreferred content, or block any content that they want to. Still confused? Let's think of it in terms of something a little more familiar: pizza. John Bergmeyer, senior counsel at Public Knowledge, is the mastermind behind this metaphor. Basically, imagine that you're sitting at home when all of a sudden your stomach starts to rumble. Naturally, you decide to call and order a pizza. Your town has two main pizza shops, Jets and Little Caesars. Because of that delicious 8-corner crust, you decide to call Jets. However, the quality of the call is abysmal. The line keeps breaking up, and you can barely hear the person on the other side. Finally, out of pure frustration, you give up on your 8-corner pizza dreams and order Little Caesars instead. The phone company owns part of Little Caesars, so in order to increase their business, they decrease the quality of calls to their competitor, Jets. In this example, the phone company is like the internet service provider. And without the principle of net neutrality in place, it is totally legal for internet service providers to do the same thing and decrease the quality of sites they don't like. Okay, so now that you know what net neutrality is, you may be thinking, why do we need it? America was built on competition, on survival of the fittest, so it makes sense that this policy would transfer to our internet providers. But let me assure you, net neutrality is needed, and for a few main reasons: to protect the freedom to information and from censorship, to protect smaller companies and sites, and to keep people of a lower socioeconomic status from being disadvantaged. Freedom to information is one of the pillars of the internet. When we go online, we expect to do a Google search without any content being hidden or blocked from us. However, without net neutrality, this type of censorship is allowed. For example, service providers with a vendetta against Webkins could bar users from accessing the site, preventing them from all the joys of online pet ownership. But more seriously, service providers that don't agree with certain sides of important issues could block people from accessing information from that perspective online. We need net neutrality to prevent this from happening in order to preserve freedom of speech in America. Furthermore, internet service providers would not need to disclose that they are favoring some content over others through blocking sites. This hidden favoritism could drastically change which sites and information we're exposed to. Studies have already found that our time and exposure on the internet is being constantly toyed with, such as through corrupt personalization, or when companies use sophisticated algorithms to tailor which content is seen by which people, and the architecture of the site, built by code, affecting the choices we make. With this knowledge in mind, it is imperative that we do not give up even more of our freedom of choice during our time on the internet by allowing net neutrality to vanish. Additionally, the disappearance of net neutrality regulations threatens starting and smaller internet content providers, such as artists and bloggers. Without net neutrality, internet service providing companies are free to charge sites fees to keep their content running at a certain speed. New and smaller sites may not be able to afford these fees, and the subsequent slowing of speed on their sites when they fail to pay the fee could keep people from wanting to go on the site, leading to the site's eventual death. And lastly, net neutrality maintains the principle of equal access the internet seemed to promise at its founding. For many, equal access to the internet is imperative for equal education, equal job opportunities, and more. However, we see this equal access go away without net neutrality. As internet service providers decide to charge sites fees for faster internet speeds, these costs could be transferred directly to the customer, who must pay a fee to maintain access to the site. For people of a lower socioeconomic status who are unable to afford these additional fees, they will be further disadvantaged and unable to have the same internet access as their more affluent counterparts. These side effects of the repeal of net neutrality should scare you. But, as with all issues, there is another side. Opposers of net neutrality argue that more important information, such as healthcare and stock info, to be prioritized, and that it makes sense that content providers that use a lot of data, such as Netflix and other streaming sites, should pay internet service providers a greater fee, just like semis sometimes pay a larger toll than cars. However, these arguments do not consider the larger repercussions of repealing net neutrality. Is losing our freedom to information really worth receiving some information faster? These benefits aren't even guaranteed results of the repeal of net neutrality. It is putting a lot of faith in network providers to assume they'll prioritize health information sites over sites that are paying larger premiums out of the goodness of their hearts. Additionally, legislation could be created to mandate data hogging streaming sites, such as Netflix, pay a fee without completely ending net neutrality and losing virtual freedom of speech. As we've seen, net neutrality is imperative to maintaining a free internet. We should all be able to access the same sites at the same speeds, regardless of company politics and favoritism. So what now? On March 26th, lawmakers will be voting on the Save the Internet Act, which would restore net neutrality. However, internet service providers are currently fighting hard to get amendments added that would still allow them to block and throttle content as they please. If this video inspired you at all to take action in the fight for net neutrality, you can join forces at battleforthenet.com, which has resources for how to get involved, such as contacting your congressperson and speaking out on social media. Until next time, or until YouTube is blocked by your service provider, I'm Sam Russell, and thanks for tuning in.